I've always wanted to do something great, and I've tried different avenues. For whatever reason, the filmmaking and entrepreneurship has really stuck with me. That's why I'm excited about this podcast and interviewing all these creative professionals, is just to hear other people's stories, because it's all over the place. Some people, it's film school, it's, their dad and grandpa was in film and photography, and like, that's not my story.
Uncommon Creative, the FILMPAC podcast.
All right, so this is kind of fun. Usually on the podcast, I get to interview, creative professionals from all over the place and hear their story. Well, today we're changing places a little bit. Now I'm in the hot seat, and Celeste, who works with me, she's going to get to ask me some questions. So this is going to be really fun. She'll provide some color commentary, but maybe before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I can be on the hot seat, then you can grill me.
Sounds good,
Cool?
Caleb. Yeah. Okay, so I am... It's funny to say, executive assistant and producer here for the Southern California hub of FILMPAC.
Yeah.
It was really cool to be the first hire on to come on and join the team when Caleb moved down here to the Southern California area.
Mm-hmm.
My partner has been in film for the last 15 years, so I was very familiar with the film production industry. I'd been exposed to a wide variety of projects. So when I came in for the interview, it was like everything just lined up. In a past life, I attended births as a doula for prenatal and postnatal support. I have 2 children, and I've studied everything from yoga to herbalism to permaculture. I'm fascinated by a lot of things. I love talking to people.
Yeah.
I love organizing, and I think that's what makes me so good at my job as a producer.
Yeah, I was going to say, one thing I would call myself a visionary, creative director of FILMPAC, and something that helps me bring, the vision to life is someone who can take it and execute it well. And that person needs to be very multi-talented, multifaceted. Celeste has that. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. No, I feel like we just came together as a really great team.
Yeah.
I've said a little bit about myself, but we are really interested in getting to know the founder and creator of FILMPAC. So please, tell me.
On the hot seat.
Yeah. Tell me about you.
Well, I'll give you some of the basics. I'm from Eugene, Oregon, and a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, I moved down to Southern California, to Ventura, California, chasing the sun, a little adventure, nicer weather. I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. I'm going to get into probably a future story, but I didn't pick up a camera until I was 25 years old. So my whole, youth was basically sports. I would say sports. We'll get into that later, but that's kind of brought me to where I am today. I'm married. I got 2 kids, ages 10 and 6. They're great. And
2 dogs, couple of dogs.
2 dogs, just trying to balance work and family and personal health, just like everybody else. So.
Well, you said you didn't pick up a camera until you were 25. So tell me, with your background, what did you want to be when you were younger?
Here's what I'd say. From the 30,000-foot view, looking at it now, in the past, I always wanted to do something great. I just want to achieve greatness. And I felt like for the first 20 years of my life, I thought that was going to come through sports, through athletics, specifically football. As I got older, I realized, hey, man, this might not work out. This is super competitive. And, I had some physical talents, but not quite enough maybe to get me to that next level.
You would have had a shot at that. You're pretty physically
Yeah, I still got that Uncle Rico mentality of I can throw a football over the mountains. But
half of it's the mentality, really.
Yeah.
It is.
I would say that. Yeah, it's the philosophy. But back to what I led with there, I think that I've always wanted to do something great, right? And I've tried different avenues. And for whatever reason, the filmmaking and entrepreneurship has really stuck with me. And so that's why I'm excited about this podcast and interviewing all these creative professionals, is just to hear other people's stories, because it's all over the place. Some people, it's film school. It's, their dad and grandpa was in film and photography, and like, that's not my story. Like I said, I picked up a camera when I was 25 years old. I was out of college. I was into my career before I kind of fell in love with this, with filmmaking. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I've gotten to know anything about you, it's that you are passionate and dedicated. And I think that energy really lends itself to being able to do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, why don't you tell me about your first exposure to video and filmmaking? How did that happen?
I feel like there's a lot of stories I could say, but I'm going to stick with this one. I was 17 and in high school, and we had our family computer. Back in those days, 90s or early 2000s, you had a family computer, not individual computers. You had a family computer. and I was browsing around on it, and I saw, Windows Movie Maker. It's like, I wonder what that is.
Yeah.
So I open it up. I realize, I can like drop in some photos and add some music, make a little slideshow.
Revolutionary.
Yeah. And so literally what I did right next to our computer was this cabinet of all these old photos. And so I raided the cabinet, found some nostalgic, sentimental photos, put it together, put it to that song, Alison Krauss, When You See Nothing at All. It did not make any sense, but something about it evoked some emotion in me. And my girlfriend at the time, she came over, and I was like, hey, I got something I want to show you. And I played this video. It was like I said, it was a song. It was some old pictures of me. And she started crying. And it was in that moment I realized, like, I can tell stories that have a deep emotional impact on people. And it took me, I guess another 8 years before I actually really pursued that, but that stuck with me. The ability to tell a story, make someone cry, make someone feel something, So that was really, providential.
Absolutely. That's the power of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Right?
It is. It's a really unique medium that we have to tell stories, to communicate things, to communicate to each other, and really to communicate more deeply with each other.
So from that moment, starting to create slideshows and share them with loved ones, how did you begin the journey of developing your craft?
I was working in a cubicle. Literally, I'm saying suit and tie, cubicle.
Wow.
And we
to see you now, like
yes, I know. I haven't worn one since.
Yeah.
Our organization needed a video done, and we usually hired this guy who was great. That day, I got a wild hair, and I was like, hey, guys, let me just film it. Now, another providential moment, I opened up my drawer, and here's this like old camcorder. I'd never used a camcorder before, other than maybe my dad's, when he used to film our athletic events. I pulled it out. I was like, I can make a video with this. Just learned on the go. Started making videos for that company. Then I convinced my boss to get me a nice camera. I was like, hey, I think I can make our TV commercial this year, which we did every couple years. And I made this TV commercial. It worked out. It turned out really good. Everyone in the organization, even outside of our organization, was like, who made that commercial for you guys? That doesn't look like a locally produced thing. And so, I think there was some natural abilities there with just being able to tell a story and compose a shot and kind of figure things out. That was a really big moment. And just the providence of just this camcorder being there, Anyway,
I love that you had the confidence and curiosity to just say like, hey, I have a feeling about this. Like, let me just pick this up and try it.
That's one thing I feel like I've really leaned into is, and it probably comes off as arrogance sometimes, but it's confidence that
maybe a little bit of that's good.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit, a little hint.
Yeah.
I feel like my mentality is I can do anything. I can do it. Like, you want me to pick up a camera, start filming? Great. You want me to figure out how to build a house? Like, I have no idea how to do that, but I'm confident I could, And so I just have a confidence you can figure things out, especially in today's day and age. There's so many resources available. You can just figure things out. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's reframe that arrogance as confidence.
Yes,
you did it because it really is. It's confidence, and that's healthy. What was a big moment for you in your career, like in your early journey? What shifted things for you?
There's so many steps along the way, and then occasionally you make these leaps, right? Mm-hmm. One of those leaps was at age 27. My wife is 7 months pregnant. I was working 40 hours a week at my desk job, suit and tie, remember?
Yes.
And then I was working probably another 40, making videos, side hustle at this.
So life was in the pressure cooker at that moment.
Yes.
Something needed to shift.
Something had to change.
Yeah.
And for not just for my wife, but for my son, I'm like, hey, I want to be around. I want to be a present dad. I'm like, all right. I lit a fire under me, and I'm like, I got to generate some business here. And I already had some business coming in, but not enough to quite pay the bills for the rest of the year. I had a niche. I did a lot of work in the book publishing industry, which is something I encourage a lot of freelancers, like find a niche and really go all in on that. So I found this blog that listed the top 10 publishers in the U.S., and I just started calling them. I was just literally Googling the phone number and calling them. I was saying, hey, my name is Caleb. I make book videos. And let me know. And it was literally this, I think it was the first time I hit voicemail, second call, one of the biggest publishers in the US picks up. And I was like, hey, can I speak to someone in your marketing department? And they're like, yeah, there's 1,000 people here who specifically. So I'm Googling. I'm like, how about
In
this
real
guy?
time, yeah.
I Googled, I think, VP of marketing at this publisher. And they're like, oh, sure. They connected me. He answered the phone.
You're kidding.
I gave him a 1-minute sales pitch. He's like, all right, send me some of your stuff and I'll let you know. I sent him right then. I sent him a portfolio of just some of my recent work. He got back to me that day and said, how would you like to work on John Grisham's next book? Now, for those of you who are maybe not big readers, I'm not a huge reader myself. John Grisham is one of the top selling authors of all time. That was a really big moment for me. That established credibility too. A lot of times as creative professionals, we're looking for that big brand to work with or that big name. And for me early on, that was a really good leap. It was a really good moment. And I was able to use that as credibility. And then that really took off, my freelance business.
I'm curious how you felt in that moment. I hear a lot of people talk about imposter syndrome.
Oh my
goodness. And like here you are, you get this break. You happen to get somebody on the phone. They transfer you to the guy you're looking for and he picks up the phone. And then you get the job.
In terms of imposter syndrome, like I feel like I am an imposter. Like I feel like even talking on a podcast, even like, acting like I'm an influencer or like I'm a thought leader, like I'm just making stuff up, as I go. I just really intuitive with how I approach, work and life and filmmaking and entrepreneurship. And so I feel like I'm always going to struggle with imposter syndrome. A lot of times it's like, you got to have the preparation and developing your craft and your skill. And then you also got to be ready to pounce on some opportunities. And so that's what I was doing in that moment.
I want you to picture yourself now where you are in your career. Okay. And all the things you've learned, all the experiences you've had, successes you've experienced.
Plenty of fails too.
Well, I would say any entrepreneur, business owner knows that with success comes sacrifice.
Yeah.
Have you had to make sacrifices along your journey?
The one thing that's top of mind, and I wouldn't even say that it's a sacrifice, it's more of a mentality, that I want to delay gratification, right? I think it's so tempting for, especially young, but any creative professional, you get that big gig, you got that big check that's coming in, you want to spend it on that new car or whatever, and it's like, I went for so many years of just like saving the money and either saving or reinvesting and not spending it on myself or my wife or my kids or my cars or my house. Like we lived really cheap. And because I did that, I was able to take those leaps. I was able to take those risks. I know, I got a 3 or 6 month cushion. If you can delay that gratification, you can really open up some opportunities to take some big risks and make some big moves.
That's really inspiring. I feel like we live in a culture of instant gratification.
Yes.
To just hear how powerful it can be if you can have enough self-control to delay gratification to really be able to build something. And yes. I think that's what's, as obviously from what I'm hearing from you, has led you to where you are.
Yes, for sure.
What about challenges then? Challenges you faced or continue to face day to day?
There's a lot of challenges that I face on a daily basis. And one thing that's been really ringing true to me recently is that solving problems and the ability to solve problems is a feather in your cap, especially as an entrepreneur. More than a feather, it's essential. And not everyone is built for solving problems. Almost everybody is good at seeing problems. Mm-hmm. A sliver of that, they can actually articulate what the problem is. And then there's a sliver of that can actually solve problems. And I'm trying to be that small sliver who really looks at a problem set and is committed to solving those problems. And so any challenge I face, there's so many, not focusing on the problem, but focusing on the solution. That's how you problem solve.
I've been really inspired by watching you over the last year and a half working together, seeing when challenges or problems do arise, the way that you handle yourself. You have like such composure, such peace about you. It looks that way externally.
Yeah,
maybe inside
yeah.
There's something going on. But really, I feel like it's a mindset. Because when a challenge or a problem faces you, you see it as an opportunity to learn. And I think that makes all the difference. Because people can see the challenge and just get caught up in it. But for you, it's been inspiring me to watch you just face those things and be like, sure, that didn't go the way that we had planned it to go, but it was absolutely an opportunity. Like there was gold in that challenge for us to learn how to do it better next time. That's an empowered perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of like back to the problem sets. It's like sometimes you solve the problem And then I guess sometimes it's just making lemonade from lemons. You just like, well, this is what we got, and let's do our best.
What are you really, really good at?
When I look at like what I bring to the table, like where do I add value? Or maybe even like where do I maybe elevate over maybe the average? I think one thing that I do and I really embrace is dive into the uncomfy things, the uncomfortable things. And that's in like my personal life too, like doing a cold plunge.
We were just talking about that last night.
Or doing a hard workout, or, having the hard conversation, like whatever it is. And then in the workplace, it's the uncomfortable things. It's the difficult ask of someone. It's like stretching yourself in that 1 week where you really, you have so much to do and you got all these things going on. It's just doing the uncomfortable thing. And I feel like that has, I think, given me some level of success, just willing to dive in and embrace that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we don't grow when things are easy. We have the opportunity to grow through adversity if we can shift the mindset. Can you tell me, like, why? Where do you think that comes from within you? Like, why do you think you're good at that?
I think after you do uncomfortable things, you realize like how much you grow and learn in that, and it's almost like addictive. Then you want to do it again. And I know there's plenty of people that talk about like doing uncomfortable things every day or every 10 minutes, and I'm not maybe that intense, but like I do think that when you're willing to do uncomfortable things, you will find success.
All right. So we know what you're good at. Yeah.
Oh boy, here it comes.
Yeah. Well, tell us what you're really bad at. Yeah. Or let's not say bad, but I mean, like, what do you need to work on? The areas of improvement that you're currently focused on?
So that's a much longer list.
Okay.
Than things I'm good at.
Well, I think that's healthy. And see, that's what I'm saying. You're not arrogant. You're confident.
That's a much longer list. The one that comes to mind, and I thought I would maybe be good at this prior to about 5 years ago, but one thing I've realized is I'm not good at managing people. I'm not.
I'm shocked by that.
I'm not. I feel like I need, instead of managing 5 people, I need those 5 people to manage me. And I'm being serious. I think like I'm so like creative / scatterbrained that I need other people to kind of reel me in too. And I think I'm not scared of that. I just know like that's kind of my personality, and so I need other people to help me. And I feel like I fail at managing other people. Now, hopefully at the end of the road, all of the people that I have managed in the past are thankful for maybe what I brought to the table and some value. I'm not sure I always do it in the right way.
I mean, I'd say so. I sing your praises because I mean, in my career working with different people, I would definitely say that you as a manager rise to the top. And it's really because of your excellent communication skills. When you need something, you are not afraid to articulate it. You're very direct. And it doesn't come from an emotional space. I think that's what really lends itself to your communication style as a boss, is that like when you need something, you just tell me what you need and then I respond. And I really appreciate that. Wow. But also for me, it's funny to hear you say continuously that you don't think you're a great manager. But I also think that's what makes you continue to strive to be better. And I really appreciate that. I wish that more managers, more bosses, more people in positions of authority out there had that type of mindset. So I want to hear a little bit more about your philosophy about doing hard things. I just think, we spoke a little bit about it already, but that's where we grow.
And when you think of like hard work, you think of like endurance and stamina of a hard day, a long work week, a long month, a long season. Or some people are maybe like super intelligent and super focused, and that's not me. What I am, I think, good at is doing the uncomfortable things. So like maybe that's taking a camera and jumping in the freezing cold ocean to get the right shot I need. Maybe it's like I have to have a really hard conversation with you or someone else on the team or someone outside the team. It's uncomfortable for me too, but I embrace it and I just like run into it. I just dive into it. And so that's my mentality. It's served me well so far.
I feel like the people who are most successful in this world make themselves comfortable with doing the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't you tell me about your biggest fail? We've talked about a lot of successes already, but I want to hear about the failures, because the failures are the things that we really learn from. I mean, I've heard it said we learn more from our losses than we do from our wins.
There's like the catastrophic fails, like on like a certain by project and that kind of thing. Deleting a SD card or forgetting a battery for your camera and you're 3 hours in the middle of nowhere. There's those kind of things, which I've had some of. But when I think of like the actual failures that I've made, it's more of a mentality that I'm trying to shift, and that is this: it's never too late. I feel like so many things in my life, looking back now at age 38, I look back and I'm like, man, when I was 25, I thought I was too late to like start a good like YouTube channel and do something like.
It's crazy.
I was so early.
Yeah.
And I felt old. I was like, no, it's never too late. I don't care if you're 38, 48, 58, 68. It's never too late. So with that mentality of like being too late, when I think of a fail, one of them is that I didn't start FilmPAC earlier. So FilmPAC is, our stock footage business. I had the idea for years prior to pressing, publish.
Really?
Years.
Wow.
But I just felt like, there's other competitors in the game. There's other people doing it well. I'm too late. Mm-hmm. And that's like my encouragement to any creative professional, whatever you're doing. You want to be a rock star? You want to be a photographer? You want to be a YouTuber? It's never too late. It's never too late. I don't care how old you are. I don't care that you feel like people have passed you by and they're better at this and that. You have something to offer. At your age and your experience, whatever it is, you have something to offer. It's never too late.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with that. That really hits home for me because, even getting this job here at FilmPAC, like prior to that, I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. And I worked in a completely different industry. And I remember dealing with imposter syndrome myself, thinking, like, who's going to want to hire me? And then when I had the courage to be like, well, I know I have skills. Like, I'm just going to jump in the pool and see what happens. I'm going to take that leap. I just 100% agree. It's never too late. I think if you have the inspiration, you have to answer that call, regardless of what age you are. So, that's a really great segue into my next question for you. Again, thinking about where you are right now in your life, what advice would you give yourself 10 years ago?
It's not too late. It's never too late. That's that, and I'm serious. That's the advice.
Okay.
And that's why I see young dudes or gals, and they're talking to me like, I just feel like don't have this or that, and I'm getting older. I'm like, hey, whoa, dude, you're in your 20s.
Mm-hmm. You got time.
You have so much time. Yeah. You're in your 30s. Oh, you got so much time.
You're just beginning to sprout.
Yes, I know. Hopefully, peak Caleb happens in 20 years from now.
Yeah, right.
Or 30. Yeah. Better yet, 38 years from now, double it. But yeah, it's never too late. That's my encouragement to all of you out there. Whatever you're about to start, whether that's a YouTube channel, you want to be a rock star, whatever it is, especially in the creative professional realm. Maybe you want to start a cement business. I don't know. It's not too late. That's my encouragement. It's never too late, and don't buy into the lie that it is. I'm telling you right now. Save this video. I'm telling you, it's not too late.
I had somebody tell me once, if you want to go for something, like go for it. Like let somebody else tell you no. Like don't tell yourself no at the beginning of the journey. Like just don't do that.
Yes.
How about this? How about the coolest project you've ever been a part of?
I've done all kinds of projects. One of the projects I was so excited about, it was this big, basically like Super Bowl type of ad, right? I was on set filming some behind the scenes stuff. It's for Doritos, okay?
Okay.
And I thought this was going to be the coolest project ever. And I got there and I was like, I want to get out of here.
Wow. Like what was it? What was it about it?
Well, I'm going to try to articulate it. It was just, some people are used to like the set life, right? And so many people, and just the eye for perfection and all the details. And what I learned throughout this day, I was on set in LA, I realized like, I kind of figured out who I was as a filmmaker and as a creator. Like I'm more of like a get it done, maybe not A+. Maybe go for the A, maybe an A-. And so some of those bigger sets, the film sets, sometimes for me, now awesome. If you guys are down and you love doing that kind of thing, great. It takes a different level of like perfectionism to do that. I don't have that in me. I'm more of like a get her done kind of guy. So
Run and gun.
Run and gun, get her done. Go for that A or A-. And that's I feel like when I have tried to pursue perfectionism, it ends up being paralyzing for me. And so I've kind of had to stay away from those. So that project specifically, I remember thinking, this ain't for me. This ain't for me.
That's really interesting. You get this like big project and then you're there and you're like, no, this does not work for me. I know who I am. This This is just not it.
Yep.
Let's look in the other direction.
Okay.
Tell me where you see yourself in the next 5, even 10 years.
Creating. Telling stories. I don't know what that's going to look like in 10 years.
Well,
It's probably going to look different than what it does right now. But that's like when I think about what am I actually good at to the core? To the core. It's like I think I like telling stories. If you could document how I tell my kids, their bedtime stories, I think it would be pretty entertaining. Like
I bet you're so animated.
I'm very animated.
Yeah,
I like telling stories. Yeah. And right now, the way I tell stories is through FilmPAC, through business, through film production, all of that. In 10 years, I don't know, but it's going to be telling stories.
Creative professionals are notoriously bad at balancing work and life. Does that apply to you?
We need to have my wife on. She would give the honest answer.
She needs a whole segment, yeah.
I hope. I think and I hope that she would say, I am good at the work-life balance. What I know from inside of my head is that I'm not. I think if you look at my hours in the office each week, it looks like...
I was going to say it looks right.
Looks okay.
You head home at a good time.
The problem with me is I carry it. I carry the burden and all the thoughts and the creative decisions. I carry it. And when I'm at home, my wife and my kids and my dogs... They need me. They just need me to be dad or hubby. That's what they need.
Yeah.
They don't care that I'm Caleb, the filmmaker, the entrepreneur, the thought leader. They do not care. So that's something I'm working on. Is like, how do I in a healthy way detach from work?
Gosh,
so
that
it's a learning process.
Is difficult. And I don't know, just speaking from my own personal experience and watching my partner be a father and a provider, that is really difficult to do when you have the pressure of supporting a family. It is like of turning it off. When you're not technically clocked in anymore, of turning off the thoughts of being like, I'm going to put work away now mentally and just be present. But I feel like that's so relatable to everyone across industries, wherever, just to
any industry.
Yes, to be present where you are in the moment. It's like you're not at work anymore. Like, so what are you focusing on right now? How can you pour all of your energy into what you're doing right now? And like, I'm a mother as well. So like, I know like when I clock out of work and I'm with my kids, like it means so much to them just for me to give them my undivided like attention and time.
Literally, this was last night. I got home from work, very busy, somewhat stressful day. Okay, I got a bunch of decisions I'm making. I'm prepping for all these different shoots and projects and all this stuff. Developing social media content strategies, all that. And then I get home, I walk in, my son's got a friend over and he's like, can you make me one of those strawberry smoothies that you do? And it's like such a shift. It's like, my phone's blowing up with Slack messages, urgent stuff. I'm trying to like in between putting bananas and strawberries in this, smoothie thing. He's like, hey, where's my smoothie? And it's like, that's like the balance I'm talking about. It's like, I gotta just like let that go. And it's, it's difficult. I think that sometimes that's like, I know it's talked about a little, probably a lot, but I still like, it's still kind of an undervalued priority is just that work-life detachment.
Talking about right now, how do you set yourself up for success in order to continue to be creative and to lead your team? Like, what practices do you have? What things do you do to take care of yourself so that you can continue to perform at this high level?
There's a lot of things I could say about taking care of yourself. But when I talk to my employees, my staff, colleagues, other creative professionals, if they're asking like, hey, how do I be more productive? How do I do this? Sleep. Get 8 hours of sleep. That's my first thing I say. Sleep. And I know I've told you that.
You've blown my mind that you and
I've
Betsy,
been on my soapbox.
your wife. You guys have a great sleep schedule.
Yeah. Great sleep schedule. And that might seem overblown, but I'm telling you, I can tell a difference, especially like day 2, like the second, like 5 or 6 hour nights of sleep. And I know some of you feel like you can live on that. And I don't think that's true. I don't think you can. I think you need 8 hours of sleep to be like full productivity. Now, when I come to the office, I'm ready to rock from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Give me a sandwich to slam in my face at noon, and I'm good to go because I got enough sleep.
Yeah. Did you know that women actually need more sleep than men? Did you know that?
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, because of our fluctuating hormone levels. It's true. We actually need more sleep than men.
Well, then there you go. You need 9. Then,
I do.
guess.
Perhaps
maybe
10.
8.5. Yeah.
I think men can actually function on 6, but I think women need a minimum of 8. It's so underrated, but so important. I mean, I watched a master class on how valuable sleep is.
Yes.
And that just losing one night of sleep can affect your immune system by as much as like 50-60%. So as the founder of FilmPAC and my boss, working very closely with you over the last year and a half, I've had the opportunity to see you through a number of different seasons, through illness, through adversity. And one thing that I've always been constantly in awe of by you is that you are 2 things. You are disciplined and you are driven, probably more than your average artist, I'd say. Where do you think that comes from?
First thing, it comes from gratitude. I'm very grateful for where I'm at. I'm grateful to not be wearing a suit and tie. No offense to the suit and tie wearers. For me, that was not a fit, the cubicle and the suit and the tie. I couldn't do it. So every day I'm reminded, I'm grateful. I get to run around with the camera and make cool stuff, and I'm super grateful, okay? That's number one. That helps the discipline and drive. It's just being like, I'm grateful for this, and I don't want to lose it. So maybe there's a little bit of fear in there, too. It's like, I don't want to lose this. Okay, the second thing is this. I feel like at age 27, I saw the mountaintop, right? I saw it. Like, I saw what was possible. Like, this is at the end of this road, you can achieve that summit. You can get to the summit. And it reminds me of this spot in my hometown, Eugene. One of my favorite hikes, Spencer Butte, okay? You get to the top. On a clear day, you can see like hundreds of miles. And you can see to one of the prettiest mountains. Let's say it's the Sisters Mountains, three peaks. You can see it. So that's the destination, right? And then I know and that's where I want to go, from Eugene to Sisters, okay? I know that once I start going, there's going to be so many bumps along the way. There's going to be speed bumps, and there's going to be fallen trees. And sometimes I'm going to be in the thick of the forest, and I can't see that. I can't see the summit anymore. I know it's there. I saw it I saw it. So I know it's there, and I'm going to keep pushing towards it. And so that's the destination. So it's kind of a reminder of, hey, this is what you're going after. Don't give up. You know it's there. You know it's possible. Just keep going.
I'm hearing that it's like the ability to hold the vision in your mind, even when your visibility is limited.
Yeah, it's playing the long game.
Yeah, when you're faced with challenges and adversity, you know what direction you're going.
Yes.
So as a business owner, I think one thing that's essential is the willingness to take risks. And with risk, there's quite possibly fear. So are you afraid of failing? That's a really big word, but do you experience fear?
Well, I would ask you, what is failing? I don't think that it's, losing a client, or a client saying no, or your business going under. I think, to me, failure would be not trying. And so I think in a lot of avenues of my life, and specifically in entrepreneurship, filmmaking, I just take risks, and I've failed so many more times than I've had success. But the real failure would be not trying.
Let's talk about the current age of social media and overall desire to have things be fast-paced, and there's a lack of attention spans really out there. How do you feel that impacts your creativity, and then also the product?
There's this dichotomy now, and it's artist or artistry versus the algorithm. And I think that your pure artists are really fed up with the algorithm.
They're fed up with the word content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
I know a few personally.
Yes. Yes. That's always going to be at odds with each other a little bit, because a true pure artist, a pure creative, does not care about hitting the algorithm and showing up in a feed and being viral. They just want to pursue their craft and be excellent at that. And so it's a really interesting dichotomy that we're at this day and age, of really having to kind of almost choose. Am I going to be a pure artist, or am I going to choose to feed the algorithm? And hopefully I can land somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle, maybe the best of both. But that's a really hard thing to straddle. And I'm trying.
My partner Brad and I were having a conversation about this the other day, because he is a filmmaker and he is an artist in the truest, most pure sense of the word.
Yeah.
And I'm much more technical and focused on, I don't want to dare I say the algorithm. I mean, what I do for work, we're looking at what the industry is asking of us. Like, what are people searching? And so I was talking to him, how can we meet in the middle? Like, you as the artist, you don't care about the algorithm. You want to just create what is asking of you, what your soul is asking to create.
Yes.
And I feel like the beauty is that as the artist, you almost like when you create something that's so new and so groundbreaking, you create a new target that the algorithm wasn't even aware of.
Right.
And then the content, everything else kind of like goes in that new direction.
Yep. Yeah. It can be a breakthrough.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I feel like with anything, the balance the balance of everything in its place being each thing in its place is best. I mean, it all has its purpose.
Yes. Agreed.
Let's talk about vertical cinema. Okay. There's a lot of filmmakers out there that are completely opposed to it. I've even seen an ad where somebody's wearing a hat and it says make video horizontal again. Tell me your thoughts on the future of cinematography as it relates to vertical versus horizontal. Horizontal debate.
Yeah, and maybe if you're not in the industry, that doesn't seem like a big deal, right? Like vertical versus like horizontal. But I'm telling you, compositionally, cinematically, there's a huge difference, right? And it's not just vertical. It's a lot of times that the vertical is being filmed on a phone too. So it's kind of this like lo-fi versus this really polished, cinema camera. There's a lot of things I would say to that, but I had a friend years ago who was he was an artist. He was always complaining about where things were going. And I was thinking in my head, I didn't say this out loud to him at the time, though I would now. I was like, he's angry because things aren't the way that he wants them to be. My mentality is I'm just going to respond and react to the way things are. I'm not going to be able to shift culture into believing that horizontal video is better and that's what we should do. I need to adapt. And I think if you're a filmmaker watching this, I think that's probably a painful truth you need to hear, is we got to adapt to the changing culture, and we're going horizontal and vertical, and we're just doing both, and we need to learn how to execute both with excellence.
Yeah, I think that brings me back to talking about growth, and I feel like adaptability is essential to growth. If we're just going to, harp on how things are, how are we ever going to continue to grow? I've heard you say the word cinematic a lot.
Yeah.
It's thrown around a lot, in the film industry. And to me, it seems overused or unclear. Could you tell me what cinematic means and also why it's important?
When someone says something is cinematic, what they actually mean is it's something that they would expect to see in cinema, right?
Yeah.
That they would expect to see in theaters. That means
screen.
Polished, dramatic, generally horizontal.
I was going to say not vertical,
yes.
right?
I mean,
cinematic's not content.
Yeah, it's a feel. It's like an epic feel, And so that's not always the goal, to shoot cinematic and to film in that way, but it is a word that's thrown around, and I think it's important. In this day and age, with our culture of filmmakers, cinematic is something that we're trying to like pursue. It's something that we're aiming towards, and it's funny because it's not very clearly defined.
It's like that mountain in the distance.
Yes, yeah, you'll know it when you get there.
Yeah, yeah. To add to that, I'm curious. Is there something that you can share with us that's been particularly inspiring to you lately?
I was on TikTok a few nights ago.
TikTok.
I love TikTok.
There we go. Okay.
I love TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm a consumer of TikTok. And it was a baseball coach, and he was telling a story about this kid that he was coaching who was a freshman on the varsity team, and he came in to like throw the last inning of this like heated rivalry, and they were all worried that this freshman kid was not going to be confident and he was going to be scared. And this kid walks out there with so much confidence, beaming with confidence more than any of the other seniors and juniors and all the varsity players and the head coach. He was the most confident person out there, and how that rubbed off on everybody. And that's inspiring to me. And now I'm trying to like bring that to my business. Like when I'm on a meeting, when we're collaborating, I want to be confident. Hey, what we're doing is worthwhile. This is meaningful. And guess what? We're going to win. We're aiming to win. Mm-hmm. And just bringing that confidence. Like, hey, we can do this and we can do anything.
Mm-hmm. I think when you believe in yourself, other people automatically are just so in awe, and they're like, man, I believe in that guy too.
Yeah.
I believe what he's saying because he believes what he's saying.
Yeah.
I think that makes a great leader.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yep.
So Let's talk about being on set. I made mention of this earlier, that you always seem so calm on set. But I do sense an extra level of focus when it comes time to begin the actual filming process.
Yeah.
And you have a certain, let's say, I've told you this a few times before, but presence about you when you enter the room. How do you deal with the pressure of directing while also leading a room of creatives?
Yeah. In terms of staying calm, I mean, everything's always seems like it's on fire. Even a really planned out shoot, planned out project, effort, whatever you're doing, things like it just always feels like it's on fire. And one thing that keeps me calm is I don't focus. I address the problem. Okay, we have a problem. I identify that problem. Now let's move on to the solution. I don't camp out. It's not a campsite problem.
You don't camp in the trouble.
No, you don't camp in the problem.
Yeah.
You set up camp in the solution.
You're like, I see that there.
And when that's your mentality, you're very productive. You get through a lot. You can overcome a lot.
I've heard it said that, like, you know, especially when talking about filmmaking, making, say, like a feature film, that like the movie is born first when you write the script, and then it dies, and again it's reborn when you're on set and you're actually creating. And I feel like there's such a potent message in that when it comes to all of life, that we can approach a situation with a plan and be ready, but it's really going to take on a life of its own when we begin to execute that plan. Once something is born.
I agree, and I think that when I look around at like the successful filmmakers and entrepreneurs that I know, it's that right there. Is that they adapt,
adaptability, absolutely,
and they problem solve.
Yes,
and that's it. It's like you solve the problems. You don't hang out at the problem. You hang out at the solution.
We want to show a little shot here from your filmmaking career. We're looking here at this Super 8 footage of a man graduating. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, it's interesting. So with FilmPAC, I've filmed like 60 something thousand clips over the past 5 years. I have stories on so many different clips, and we have this huge library now. This Super 8 footage, it's a really interesting story, at least to me. I was looking for an old projector, and like, who's gonna have an old Super 8 projector? My grandpa. So I call up my grandpa. I'm like, hey, do you have an old Super 8 projector? He says, yes, I think so, deep in my closet. So I go over there, pull out this Super 8 projector. Underneath the projector are all these film reels. And I was like, Grandpa, what are you doing with all these? He's like, nothing. They've been sitting here for literally like 40 years.
Oh my gosh, gold mine.
It was a gold mine.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to take one of these because I need to run something through the projector. And I started playing this. I remember it was in a dark room in our FilmPAC office. And just this like amazingly cool, authentic, genuine, vintage footage. And this shot actually right here, that is my dad, who is now 70, just turned 70. That's him on graduation day.
That's amazing.
Graduating from South Eugene High School. Now, something about my grandpa and my uncles, my dad and his brothers. They were like world travelers. All of my uncles were like elite athletes. My grandpa was, he built homes and churches. He traveled all around the world. He was an entrepreneur. He was very involved in a lot of things. So I unearthed this like gold mine of all these Super 8 reels, and it was so cool. And also to be able to commercially release them too, right? Like I got all the, releases from all my uncles, and
I think you even have footage of birth as well, don't you?
Yes, my own birth actually. My mom was like, thanks, Mom.
Yeah. We're going to go to underrated, overrated.
All right, let's
I'm
hear it.
Rapid fire questions. You just give your quick response. Here
I'm
we
ready.
Go. Okay, college.
Overrated.
Golden hour.
Underrated.
Drones.
Underrated.
FPV drones.
Underrated, for sure.
Okay, red cameras.
Underrated.
Gimbals.
Overrated.
Cinema lenses.
Overrated.
Anamorphic lenses.
Underrated.
Wow. AI, artificial intelligence, as it relates to it.
Still underrated.
Wow. Okay, rollerblades. This is a good one.
Yeah, definitely underrated.
Why rollerblades? Why are rollerblades?
I grew up rollerblading like in elementary school with my mom. We'd go down the bike path and do it. Great memories. Then a few years ago, I was filming a rollerblader. And I was like, how am I going to film this person? Mm-hmm. She was going to be on rollerblades. So I went to, a local kind of used sports apparel shop and pulled up these gross rollerblades that had someone else's feet in them for the past 20 years.
Nice. They were seasoned.
They were very seasoned. And I put them on and I was like, it was like riding a bike. Mm-hmm. holding a $30,000 camera, just flying around. And I realized, you can have a gimbal, right? That's part of the reason I say gimbals are overrated, because if you got rollerblades and a flat surface, you're good to go.
Not everyone knows how to rollerblade with a $30,000
That's true, but you can learn. Yeah, that's true. You can learn, though.
Takes a certain amount of finesse.
Yeah, but I realized, like, with rollerblades, I can get a really smooth shot and have a lot of flexibility with, like, composition. I can tilt and all that really easily. And I'm ready. I don't need to balance anything like on a gimbal. I'm just ready to go. 2 minutes. Give me 1 minute. Put on my rollerblades.
That's part of the run and gun philosophy, isn't it?
I just think efficiency, I really lean that way.
Efficiency. That's your middle name, actually. Yes. I told you when I got hired, actually, efficiency was my middle name. And I think this is when we realized we were going to be a good
it's
team.
It's actually mine. Yeah.
I said it. And you were like, dang. I want to circle back also to college. Why did you say college is overrated? Let's get into that.
Here's what I would say. If you want to be a creative professional, I don't think that you need to go to college in this day and age. And I know that that's a bold statement, but if you want to be an engineer, a doctor, lawyer, you're going to college.
Yeah, you need those, years of study.
If you're going to be a camera guy,
pick it up and get going, huh?
Just get going.
Just do it.
Just start. You don't. And another thing too is, like, college, unless you maybe got some kind of scholarship or something, that's a burden of debt either on you or on your parents in a lot of cases, or grandparents, or whoever, family members, someone supporting you. But if it's a loan, you might come out with 6 figures of loan debt. Mm-hmm. And then that weighs on your, decisions about, careers and opportunities and taking risks and entrepreneurship. Oh, well, you got to make that payment every month. And I think it's too early at age 22, 25. That's too early to have that kind of debt. In my opinion, I would say, like I said, unless you're going to be a doctor, cool, you can probably make those payments. But for, if you're pursuing a video professional or a creative professional career, I would say skip the college, pick up a camera, and start going.
Tell me about golden hour.
Golden
Why
hour.
Is it so special? Why is it golden?
Well, okay. Yes. I know I'm gonna mess up, like, the science behind this.
Okay.
But as the sun is setting, the sun is having to shine through more atmosphere. And so when that happens, you get, 1, a softer light. 2, you get a lot more of that, like, kind of orangey, reddish, warm color, versus in the bright of day, it's just kind of harsh and white, right? Mm-hmm. It's magical. And I feel like when I look back at all the, 60,000 clips I've filmed in the past few years, the golden hour shoots, when I waited for that moment, waited for the sun just to be right, those are always my favorite shots. So that's why I say it's underrated, because it's so special, and it doesn't lose its specialness every time I do it.
Does it have a certain sense of magic about it? Is
I
that
think
why
so.
It's also called magic
People
hour?
call it magic hour. I mean, we just did a shoot last week, right, in Malibu, and it's like one of the coolest sunsets I've ever seen. Got these cool people running around the beach doing stuff, and it's like so special. And so I think it's always worth it if you can. Maybe if you live on, like, I don't know, upper northeast coast, there's, like, maybe you'd have less golden hours. I know we did in Oregon less golden hours, but down here it's almost every day.
Let's jump into some questions from our listeners.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so tell me,
hear it.
What's your A camera? Do you happen to have that on you?
Yeah. I do, actually.
You do?
So I've shot with a lot of cameras through the years. I kind of drug my feet on purchasing a cinema camera for a long time. I was super happy with the mirrorless and all that, from the 5D Mark II to the Sony A7S and beyond. And then a few years ago, my life changed.
Oh, wow. You have it right there.
Yes, I happen to have it just right here. This is the Red Gemini. Now, this is very beat up because I am very hard on my cameras. But the Red Gemini is a special camera. And I've logged so many hours on this. And it's a great camera. I generally shoot with the 24-70 on here just to, like, maximum versatility. There's nothing if you look at it, it's clunky, it's big, but I try to keep this as minimal as possible. And this has been a really effective camera for me. Whether you want to shoot real time, slow-mo, I mean, the color profile, everything about this is just, really special.
Top quality.
I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan of how you transport that Red camera. I've never seen anyone transport it the way that you do.
Just throw it in the back of my truck and drive off.
But perhaps trip in the sand on it. You trip, you bust your toe. Yeah, tell us about that story, just real quick.
It's a miracle that my A camera is still alive. I've taken it out into the ocean. I mean, one time I was chasing this couple on the beach, and I stubbed my toe so hard, and I was like, when you cut something and the blood is like pumping out.
Oh, no. Yeah.
That's what it was. And, what do you do in those moments? You're like, everything's fine.
Carry on.
Don't want to ruin the shoot. Carry on.
Carry on.
Just jam your foot in the sand and let's get the next shot. It wasn't until after the shoot. They're like, are you okay? And I'm like, I don't know, actually.
I think it might be broken. Yeah. Yeah. We did touch on this topic a little bit earlier. Question from a listener. Do I need to go to college?
This is a question I get asked a lot. Do I need to go to college? There were three things that I learned in college. 3 things. Number 1, I can outwork most, if not all people. That's something I learned in college. Number 2, I can learn anything. Now, we kind of talked about that earlier, but I feel like if you put something in front of me, I can learn anything, okay? And then number 3, people learn in different ways, okay? I got good grades. I got a 4.0, okay? Like in college and stuff. Ended up, earning a merit, whatever, academic scholarship. And I'm not saying that to brag. What I'm saying is people learn in different ways. I figured out how to kind of get good grades, but I wasn't actually learning. I wasn't learning the actual content. I was learning how to learn. And so that's like, I think if I had to summarize it, that's the biggest thing with going to college is I learned how to learn.
So it's not necessary. It's not necessary to go to college for. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Touch on that later. We'll go more deep on that later.
I just want to say, thank you for being so honest and sharing all of these insights, a wealth of knowledge from your experience with our community here.
Yeah. Well, and it's fun to be on the hot seat too. I get to interview people all the time and ask them questions, and it's kind of a difference here of me getting to answer all the questions. So thanks for, being a good host. And, I feel like the one takeaway from today, I would say it's maybe, I'm kind of maybe trying to summarize everything that I've said is keep going. It's never too late and you can do anything. That's my message, period.
Uncommon Creative, the FilmPAC podcast.